Implementation of the biannual HIV prevention injection by Q1 2025, a comprehensive overview. Introduction. The fight against HIV/AIDS continues to be a significant public health challenge worldwide. In response to this ongoing crisis, a new biannual HIV prevention injection is being developed aimed at significantly reducing transmission rates, particularly among at-risk populations. This initiative represents a collaborative effort among public health organizations, pharmaceutical companies, and regulatory bodies, with a budget allocation of $15 million dedicated to clinical trials and distribution logistics, with an anticipated rollout by Q1 2025. Key phases of implementation. The implementation of the biannual HIV prevention injection is structured into 4 key phases, each designed to ensure the initiative's success through careful planning, execution, and community engagement. Phase 1: Research and Development. The first phase focuses on rigorous research and development, including extensive clinical trials to evaluate the safety and efficacy of the injection. This phase is vital for establishing the scientific basis needed for the injection's approval and widespread use. Timeline: this phase commenced in Q1 2023, with clinical trials officially beginning in Q4 2023. Objectives: to gather comprehensive data on the injection's performance, side effects, and overall effectiveness in preventing HIV transmission. Phase 2: Regulatory Approval. Upon the successful completion of clinical trials, the next phase involves navigating the regulatory landscape to secure approval from health authorities such as the FDA. Process: this involves submitting detailed clinical trial data, which includes efficacy results, safety profiles, and manufacturing processes. Timeline: expected submission of trial data for regulatory approval is set for Q2 2024, with approval anticipated by Q3 2024. Phase 3: Manufacturing and Distribution Planning. Once regulatory approval is secured, the focus will shift to scaling up manufacturing and planning distribution logistics. Collaboration: this phase requires partnerships with pharmaceutical manufacturers and healthcare providers to ensure that production meets demand. Distribution: establishing an effective logistics network to ensure that the injection reaches at-risk populations efficiently. Timeline: finalization of manufacturing and logistics plans is expected by Q4 2024. Phase 4: Public Awareness and Education Campaign. The final phase is centered on launching a comprehensive public awareness campaign aimed at educating communities about the benefits of the biannual injection. Goals: to increase uptake among target populations and reduce stigma associated with HIV prevention methods. Strategies: utilizing social media, community outreach, and partnerships with local health organizations to disseminate information effectively. Timeline: the public education campaign will coincide with the official launch of the injection in Q1 2025. Budget allocation. The initiative's budget of $15 million will be allocated strategically across the 4 phases to ensure comprehensive coverage of all necessary activities. Clinical trials: a significant portion will be dedicated to funding rigorous clinical testing, which is essential for establishing the injection's safety and efficacy. Manufacturing: investments will be made in scaling up production capabilities and ensuring quality control measures are in place for mass distribution. Distribution logistics: funding will also cover the development of a logistics framework that facilitates equitable access to the injection, particularly for marginalized communities. Public education: resources will be allocated for marketing and outreach campaigns to effectively communicate the benefits of the injection to potential users. Common key points. The overarching objective of this initiative is to provide a reliable preventive measure against HIV, significantly targeting at-risk populations in an effort to reduce transmission rates substantially. The initiative emphasizes equitable access, ensuring marginalized communities are prioritized in clinical trials and distribution efforts. Differences between sources. While various reports on the initiative share commonalities regarding its phases and budget discrepancies exist in their timelines and the specific challenges anticipated. Some sources highlight potential delays in the regulatory approval process, while others may focus more on local community needs or specific partnerships involved in the initiative. Timeline of events. A clear timeline helps track the progress of the initiative. Q1 2023, initiation of research and development for the HIV prevention injection. Q4 2023, commencement of clinical trials with preliminary results expected by mid-2024. Q2 2024, submission of trial data for regulatory approval. Q3 2024, expected approval from health authorities. Q4 2024, finalization of manufacturing and logistics plans. Q1 2025, official launch of the biannual HIV prevention injection accompanied by a public education campaign. Conclusion. The biannual HIV prevention injection initiative represents a crucial step forward in public health efforts to combat HIV transmission. With a structured approach encompassing research, regulatory approval, manufacturing, distribution, and public education, the initiative is poised to make a meaningful impact on at-risk communities. The strategic allocation of a $15 million budget supports a holistic approach to ensuring that this innovative preventive measure is safe, effective, and accessible to those who need it most. As the project progresses towards its Q1 2025 launch, ongoing collaboration and community engagement will be critical to its success. The implementation of the biannual HIV prevention injection by Q1 2025 is a well-structured initiative that aims to enhance public health efforts in combating HIV. The allocation of $15 million for clinical trials and distribution logistics is significant, and the plan is divided into 4 key phases: research and development, regulatory approval, manufacturing and distribution planning, and public awareness and education campaign. Counterintuitive information. 1. Budget allocation priorities. While one might expect a larger portion of the budget to be dedicated to clinical trials, a significant emphasis is placed on distribution, logistics, and public awareness campaigns. This reflects an understanding that even the most effective medical interventions can fail without proper education and access for at-risk populations. 2. Regulatory approval process. The timeline suggests that regulatory approval is anticipated to be completed swiftly, expected by Q3 2024 after clinical trials. This contrasts with the common perception that regulatory processes are often lengthy and bogged down by bureaucracy, indicating that this initiative may have streamlined pathways or prior engagements with regulatory bodies. 3. Community involvement. There is a strong focus on ensuring equitable access, particularly for marginalized communities. This is often overlooked in public health initiatives where the default strategy may prioritize more easily accessible demographics. The plan's emphasis on community involvement and education is crucial for combating stigma, which is typically a barrier to HIV prevention efforts. 4. Pharmaceutical partnerships. The initiative mentions collaboration with pharmaceutical partners for manufacturing and distribution. This suggests that the initiative is leveraging existing infrastructures and expertise within the pharmaceutical industry, which might counter the belief that new public health initiatives must always build new systems from scratch. 5. Public education impact. The final phase, focusing on public awareness and education campaigns, may seem secondary to clinical trials and regulatory approvals, yet it is positioned as a critical component for the success of the injection. This highlights the counterintuitive notion that even with a scientifically sound product, the lack of public knowledge and acceptance can significantly hinder its effectiveness. 6. Equity versus efficiency. The initiative aims for equitable access, potentially at the cost of efficiency in distribution. This approach challenges the typical business model of maximizing efficiency, suggesting that in public health, prioritizing equity can lead to better long-term outcomes, even if it complicates logistics or increases costs in the short term. These points illustrate a nuanced understanding of public health initiatives, revealing that success in such programs often hinges not only on clinical efficacy but also on strategic planning, community engagement, and addressing social determinants of health. In the report regarding the implementation of the biannual HIV prevention injection, several key points are crucial and might be overlooked by the general audience. Here are the significant elements and their importance. 1. Emphasis on marginalized communities. While the report notes the initiative's goal of providing equitable access to the HIV prevention injection, the specific prioritization of marginalized communities is a critical aspect that may not receive adequate attention. This focus is significant for several reasons. Disparities in health outcomes. Marginalized communities often face higher rates of HIV transmission due to factors such as socioeconomic barriers, lack of access to healthcare, and stigma. Addressing these disparities is essential not only for the success of the initiative but also for advancing health equity. Community engagement. Ensuring that marginalized groups are actively involved in both clinical trials and the distribution process can lead to better acceptance and uptake of the injection. Engaging these communities can help tailor educational campaigns that resonate with their specific needs and concerns. 2. Role of public awareness and education campaigns. The report outlines a comprehensive public awareness campaign as a final phase of the initiative but does not delve deeply into how this will be executed. This aspect is crucial for the following reasons. Behavioral change. Effective education campaigns can shift public perception and reduce stigma associated with HIV. Changing societal attitudes is as important as the medical aspect of prevention, as it can encourage more individuals to seek out preventative measures. Targeted messaging. The success of the campaign hinges on the ability to craft messages that are culturally sensitive and tailored to the diverse populations at risk. Ignoring the nuances of communication can lead to ineffective outreach and low uptake of the injection. 3. Regulatory approval process. The report mentions the need for regulatory approval following clinical trials, which might seem like a standard procedural point. However, the implications of this phase are substantial. Timeline variability. The regulatory approval process can be unpredictable. Delays at this stage can significantly push back the overall timeline, affecting public health strategies and funding allocations. Stakeholders need to be prepared for potential setbacks. Impact on trust. Transparency during the regulatory process is vital for maintaining public trust. If the community perceives the approval process as opaque or rushed, it may lead to skepticism about the safety and efficacy of the injection. 4. Budget allocation specifics. While the report provides a total budget of $15 million, the breakdown of how this budget will be allocated across the 4 phases is missing. This omission is significant because resource allocation efficiency. Understanding how funds are distributed can highlight priorities within the initiative. For example, if a disproportionate amount is allocated to manufacturing over education, it might signal a lack of commitment to community engagement. Accountability. Stakeholders, including community organizations and health advocates, need to know how funds are being used to ensure that the initiative aligns with their needs. A lack of transparency could lead to mistrust or opposition. 5. Potential for scalability and future developments. The report does not touch on the potential for scaling the initiative or how it might inform future public health interventions. This aspect is crucial for several reasons. Sustainable public health strategies. If this initiative proves successful, it could serve as a model for other public health campaigns targeting different diseases or health issues. The lessons learned in this process could influence future funding and policy decisions. Innovation in HIV prevention. The introduction of a biannual injection represents a significant advancement in HIV prevention. Highlighting this innovation could attract further investment in research and development for similar preventive measures. Conclusion. Overall, while the report presents a structured approach to the implementation of the biannual HIV prevention injection, there are several critical elements that deserve more attention. Emphasizing equitable access, the importance of public education, understanding the regulatory landscape, budget transparency, and the potential for future developments are all significant factors that will influence the initiative's success. Acknowledging and addressing these points can lead to a more effective and widely accepted public health intervention against HIV. 1. Research and development phase. This foundational phase is crucial as it involves rigorous clinical trials to establish the safety and efficacy of the biannual HIV prevention injection. The outcomes of these trials will determine the injection's viability and guide subsequent regulatory and manufacturing processes. It emphasizes the importance of scientific validation in public health initiatives and underscores the necessity for ongoing research in the field of HIV prevention. 2. Regulatory approval process. Securing regulatory approval from health authorities is a significant milestone that can be both time-consuming and complex. This phase highlights the essential relationship between scientific research and regulatory frameworks, showcasing the need for transparent data submission and compliance with health regulations. Understanding the intricacies of obtaining approvals is vital for stakeholders involved in drug development and public health policies. 3. Manufacturing and distribution logistics. The planning for manufacturing and distribution is critical to ensure that the injection is produced at scale and reaches at-risk populations effectively. This phase involves collaboration with pharmaceutical companies and healthcare providers, emphasizing the logistical challenges of delivering a new medication. It also reflects the importance of strategic partnerships in executing public health strategies, ensuring that the injection is accessible to those most in need. 4. Public awareness and education campaign. The final phase underscores the importance of community engagement and education in the successful uptake of the HIV prevention injection. This campaign aims to reduce stigma and misinformation surrounding HIV prevention methods, promoting informed choices among potential users. This aspect highlights the role of public health communication in fostering acceptance and understanding of new health interventions, which is critical for the overall success of the initiative. Here are 3 famous historical cases that share similarities with the implementation of the biannual HIV prevention injection initiative. 1. Polio vaccine development, 1950s. The development and rollout of the polio vaccine in the 1950s serves as a significant historical parallel. After the polio epidemic caused widespread fear and paralysis in children, researchers like Jonas Salk and Albert Sabin dedicated themselves to creating a safe and effective vaccine. The process involved rigorous clinical trials, regulatory approvals, and widespread public health campaigns. The successful implementation of the vaccine led to a dramatic decline in polio cases worldwide, illustrating the importance of scientific research, regulatory oversight, and public education in controlling infectious diseases. 2. The global rollout of the measles, mumps, and rubella MMR vaccine, 1980s. The MMR vaccine was introduced in the 1980s as a combined immunization strategy to combat 3 viral infections that had significant health impacts, particularly on children. Similar to the proposed HIV prevention injection, the MMR rollout involved multiple phases: research and development, regulatory approval, manufacturing and distribution, logistics, followed by public awareness campaigns to encourage vaccination. The MMR vaccine's implementation highlighted the effectiveness of proactive public health measures and the need for community education to counter misinformation and vaccine hesitancy. 3. The introduction of antiretroviral therapy ART for HIV/AIDS, 1996. The introduction of antiretroviral therapy ART in the mid-1990s marked a turning point in the fight against HIV/AIDS. Following extensive research and clinical trials, ART was shown to significantly reduce viral loads in individuals with HIV, transforming the disease from a fatal condition to a manageable chronic illness. The process included obtaining regulatory approvals, scaling up manufacturing, and establishing treatment protocols. Public health campaigns were crucial in promoting awareness, reducing stigma, and encouraging people to seek treatment, paralleling the proposed education and outreach efforts for the biannual HIV prevention injection initiative. These historical cases illustrate the importance of structured phases in public health initiatives encompassing research, regulatory processes, manufacturing, logistics, and community engagement to achieve successful health outcomes. The implementation of the biannual HIV prevention injection by Q1 2025 represents a transformative step in public health, particularly in the fight against HIV/AIDS. With a budget of $15 million allocated for clinical trials and distribution logistics, the initiative is structured to unfold in 4 key phases, each vital for the successful rollout and sustainability of this innovative intervention. 1. Research and development. The initial phase focuses on rigorous clinical trials to assess the safety and efficacy of the HIV prevention injection. This stage is critical, as it establishes the scientific validity of the injection. The trials are expected to commence in Q4 2023, with preliminary results anticipated by mid-2024. Successful outcomes will not only validate the injection's effectiveness but also inform dosage and administration protocols, thereby shaping the injection's eventual deployment. 2. Regulatory approval. Upon completion of successful trials, the subsequent phase will involve navigating the regulatory landscape to secure approval from health authorities such as the FDA. This process can be lengthy and complex, but it is essential for ensuring that the injection meets the necessary safety and efficacy standards before it can be introduced to the market. The timeline indicates that regulatory submissions will occur in Q2 2024, with anticipated approval by Q3 2024. 3. Manufacturing and distribution planning. Post-approval. The focus will shift to manufacturing and distribution logistics. This phase will be critical to ensuring that the injection is produced at scale and distributed effectively to at-risk populations. Collaborations with pharmaceutical partners and healthcare providers will be integral to establishing a robust supply chain. By Q4 2024, logistics plans will be finalized, setting the stage for a seamless launch in early 2025. 4. A public awareness and education campaign. The final phase emphasizes the importance of community engagement and education. A comprehensive public awareness campaign will be launched alongside the injection's rollout to inform potential recipients about its benefits, usage, and the importance of HIV prevention. This initiative aims to reduce stigma and increase uptake among marginalized communities who are often disproportionately affected by HIV. The success of this phase is critical, as public perception and understanding can significantly influence the initiative's impact. Budget allocation. The $15 million budget is strategically divided across these phases. A significant portion will be dedicated to research and clinical trials, ensuring that the scientific evidence supporting the injection is robust. Resources will also be allocated for manufacturing and logistics to guarantee that once approved, the injection can be delivered to those in need without delay. Finally, a portion of the budget will support outreach efforts aimed at educating the community and fostering an environment conducive to the injection's acceptance. Future outlook. Looking ahead, the successful implementation of the biannual HIV prevention injection could have profound implications for public health. If the injection proves effective, it could significantly reduce HIV transmission rates, particularly in high-risk populations. The initiative's emphasis on equitable access ensures that marginalized groups are prioritized, which could lead to a decrease in health disparities related to HIV. Additionally, the injection could pave the way for future innovations in preventive medicine, inspiring similar approaches to other infectious diseases. As the healthcare landscape evolves, the lessons learned from this initiative could inform best practices for future public health campaigns, particularly in terms of engaging communities and addressing barriers to healthcare access. In summary, the biannual HIV prevention injection initiative is poised to be a landmark development in HIV prevention strategies. The structured phases combined with a clear budget allocation and a focus on public engagement create a comprehensive approach that not only aims to combat HIV but also sets a precedent for future public health initiatives. The potential outcomes could reshape the future of HIV prevention, making significant strides toward ending the epidemic.